Same me, different shirt. Okay, just want to make that clear. Same me, different shirt. Um, if you did not see the headline topic, the topic is Puffy, aka Puff Daddy, aka Puff, aka Diddy, aka Sean John, aka P. Diddy, aka Mr. Love, and all his other aliases. The Sean Combs goes by, Sean P. Combs, has been arrested in Manhattan after a grand jury indictment. What hasn't been disclosed yet exactly what was entailed in that indictment. But as he's been accused of many things within the past few years, we will find out because those are a matter of public records. So, um, for all the back and forth that was going on about him with all these people basically caping for him, especially other celebrities in the hip hop industry, or some of these pro blackity black people who always want to say we should defend black guys no matter what. What do you have to say on this now? Some of them were going hard in the paint, caping for him until that leaked footage came out of him beating on his former girlfriend and former bad boy artist. People said all that stuff was made up. I've talked about this for what, half a year now. um, I've done some pre-recorded videos and YouTube shorts talking about it, and while many people did agree with me, I did get some pushback by people saying, "Oh, you just want to revel in seeing a black man getting taken down." No, I don't. I just don't like Puffy. And when it came to some of these high profile YouTubers defending him, I disagree with them, even if I largely agree with a lot of the stuff they said on their platform. Particularly this one black YouTuber who's a lawyer. I won't mention his name, but uh, he used to cape pretty hard for Puffy, and then when the tape came out, he was like, "Well, I'm not going to defend that man on his actions or debauchery, but I'm still not going to revel in seeing a black man go down because I'm always for black men." I'm like, you're just as bad as the women who cape for other black women who do shitty things, but just they don't want to portray their sisterhood. That's just as bad. And he doesn't see that. Or he does see that and he doesn't care. I don't know. But like I said, I agree with a lot of things the brother says, so I'm not gonna sit here and say, aha, I told you so, because for all I know, he might watch some of my content. I don't know. But in any case, it's going down. And like I said, the stuff that he said being a lawyer just was he gave a horrible legal analysis of the situation several months ago. The person who gave the best breakdown of what was going on with Puffy at the time was this YouTuber called Legal Eagle. He's a lawyer himself, but he gives great legal analyses of things going on in pop culture He's even taken legal content from like movies and TV shows and have broken those down from the fictional down to the realistic aspects of what will happen if those things happen, in real life. So he's definitely the best source to confer to as far as looking at how he broke down Puffy situation several months ago. Better than this two of these pro black, well, not pro black, two of these black lawyer YouTubers with which I'm familiar in the manosphere. Um, they didn't give great analyses to what was going on. Ninja Turtle says, "Is he going to take J.Lo down with him?" How does she figure into this? We're not talking about the situation from 1999. We're talking about something that happened recently, and that case has already been adjudicated back then. That has nothing to do with what's going on now. What it does have to do with is showing that there's a record of him having reckless behavior. But if you're thinking about the J Lo thing, I think you need to step up to about 25 years now into the future because you're talking about something from 1999. So, um, in any case, I've broken this down in several videos that I've done. So, guys, you can check those out. But I'm gonna go over his record of reckless behavior from the time I was a kid. Roop says, "Why do you think Trump said we should nuke hurricanes? Is he really that stupid?" That has nothing to fuck to do with what I'm talking about in this topic. So, if you're not gonna talk about what I'm talking about in this topic, go to another live stream that's talking about Trump. Again, when I've had those fucking topics, you people weren't here to contribute to those conversations. So don't come here now asking me dumb shit on topics that I'm not covering right now because I've covered those topics and you weren't here. So move on or drop it in the super chat if you actually want an answer to a topic unrelated to what I'm talking about. I'm going to say that again. If you want to ask me a question that has nothing to do with the current topic, drop it in the super chat or give me a super sticker or drop me a cash app. Otherwise, I'm not discussing anything that's not about the current fucking topic. Full stop. Anyway, Mike says, "What's up, man? What's going on, Mike?" Jake's wife says, "Just came to hit that light. Gotta go sleep. Have a tough night and day." Thank Jake's wife. Have a great one. Have a good night. I got to step into one of your streams sometime soon. You didn't trigger me, Rube. My point is, I expect people to talk about the given topic. It's not about politics. You're not going to trigger me about anything other than the fact that you're not respecting what I'm talking about. So, Bob says something completely unrelated. Jake's wife says, "Thank you. You're welcome." And like I said, I got to hit one of your live streams too, Jake's wife. Um, I know one, it was like too late for me to join in, but I know I left you a like in that live stream. Any case, guys, so I'm gonna say it another time. So if you're saying anything unrelated to the topic, then I'm gonna ignore you, or I'm just gonna put you on blast, like I did that Rube. His name fits because he is a Rube. um, it's funny that trolls think they're so clever when it's apparent to everyone else that they're stupid as shit. But that's kind of part of the Dunning Kruger effect is that stupid people can't tell that they're stupid. it's sort of a blessing and a curse that they're blissfully ignorant that they're stupid, while at the same time everyone is a is woefully aware of their stupidity. So anyway, trolls on timeout. Um, so anyway, I'm gonna break down um what I know of Puffy's reckless behavior, and I'm only talking about stuff this you know been publicly accessible. I can't talk about any of the other things he's done that only insiders would know. But I first remember him coming out around 1991, I guess. I guess that's when he left Howard University. He went there for one fucking semester. They gave him an honors degree. I mean, an honorary degree several years ago. I wonder if they're going to take that back. Um, or I think maybe they have already. I'm not sure, but he went to Howard University for one fucking semester. And I'm sorry, back in 1990 when he attended, not like it was a challenging university to go to. I will say that it is one of the better HBCUs out there. It's considered the Harvard of HBCUs, but that's not saying much because HBCUs on the undergrad level aren't really taken that seriously. I think if you do go to an HBCU, the only accept the only acceptable degree to get there is like a STEM degree, because otherwise a HBCU is a waste of money because no one they have no social prestige. But any case, the first time I saw him as a celebrity was he was a background dancer for the the pop. I don't know if you call it R&B or pop rock or whatever it was, but the group Fine Young Cannibals, and it was a song "You Drive Me Crazy," and he was one of the background dancers in his little fruity looking spandex or whatever. I didn't pay any attention to it. I didn't know. I didn't really know who he was until like later that year. He was also coming out with music under Uptown Records. He wasn't the he wasn't the head person at Uptown Records, but I guess because his face was out there, he was like the face of it. Andre Harrell was actually, um, I think the person in charge of Uptown Records, but he was coming out with people, like he was producing people like what Heavy D, Father MC, Mary J. Blige, folks like that, and the music was dope. Can't take that away from him. Music was definitely dope, but it wasn't until like much like several years later that I heard of all the stuff that was going on. like I guess artists weren't being compensated correctly. That's one thing, but that wasn't the issue. Like I know he did some sort of charity event. There was like a charity basketball event where someone at the game apparently was shot and unalived. Uh, I can't remember if that was the one that was at the university or the one that was at the Rutgers. So I think there was two separate events, one in like 91, 92, then another one later. And I think one was at like NYU or somewhere like that, and someone got hurt. Then there was another event where someone was unalived. So that was like the first two times, you know, he had gotten into some trouble, and apparently he felt bad about the person losing their life at this charity event. So, you can just write that off as coincidence, an unhappy coincidence, but a coincidence. But then it was just more stuff going on. Like, then there was Tupac's death, and at the time he denied having anything to do with Tupac being set up at the at this music studio in in Manhattan. But some people had connected him to that Tupac getting shot at that studio at the time. He was coming, I guess, to record Puffy. I mean, no, Puffy wasn't there, but Biggie and all his folks were already upstairs recording. Found out that Puffy, I mean, like you said, found out that Pac was coming to the studio, and they came down to meet him, and found out he was getting robbed in the, I guess, there on the elevator in the lounge before they came this before they can meet up with him. And at the time, I guess Pac blamed everybody. He blamed Biggie. He blamed Puffy. Apparently, there was this notorious gangster that was involved in the stick up at the time named Haitian Jack, who has not denied that he wasn't involved. But some people tie that to Puffy. Now there's a guy named uh, Keefy D or whatever the guy's name is, who's recently been arrested last year and being one of the guys in the car who shot Pac in Las Vegas. He's claiming that he was paid by Puffy to do so, showing that he even had a big check written out to him uh, at the amount of about $1 million. Um, and one of Puffy's former bodyguards claimed that whereas he doesn't know if Puffy was actually involved, he did actually see a check made out in this man's name to about $1 million. Then a year later, Biggie dies. This time they're leaving the Soul Train Music Awards in LA. First of all, you shouldn't have made that man come out to LA at that time when tensions were so high between these rival factions in LA and New York. That was bad. Not to mention the former rapper Mace decided not to come to that music awards because he himself had heard there was going to be a bit of a row going on, and didn't bother to warn Biggie about it. Puffy knew something was going down too, and again, he allowed Biggie to come out there anyway. But apparently, the whole thing that was going down at the time wasn't really aimed at Biggie; it was aimed at Puffy himself. So more reckless behavior or intentional endangerment, because he and Biggie were going through it at the time too, because Biggie was leaving the Bad Boy label. People don't know that. He had actually co-founded his own label with another guy named Lance uh, Lance Un Rivera, who called themselves Big Un, and they had started their own record label called Undias Records, which later became Entertainment before it folded. Mace actually did a released the album under Entertainment as well, um, and that's where Cameron started. But yeah, so Biggie was planning on leaving, and Puffy wasn't exactly happy about that. I guess they were getting along at this award show, or whatever, but it's not looking good. Then this is in 90 what this is in 97. Then fast forward 2 years later, as um, the username Ninja Turtle just specified in the beginning of this chat that he said, "What about J Lo?" I was like, "Well, I don't think she has anything to do with his current troubles." But yeah, so that was another thing that he got in trouble for. But before we can get there, we can skip a year after 97, after Biggie's death, to 98, where he got in trouble because he beat the crap out of some producer at the time. He had just did a song with the rapper Nas. You can hate me now, kind of apropos, right? And in this in this music video, there's a scene where both he and Nas are hanging at the cross. They're being crucified. Puffy had started coming into his religious faith at the time, and was scared that it would be sacrilegious of him to be portrayed as himself on a cross like he was Christ himself. So he wanted the producer to remove that scene out of the music video, and supposedly the producer didn't want to do so. So Puffy threatened him and then beat his ass, basically, or more likely had his goons beat the producer up. I don't know, but he had to fight that charge just for a year later. Now he's in this club, and I think again in like New York, and I believe Manhattan or somewhere. I think it was in Manhattan with his then girlfriend at the time, J Lo, and his artist Shine, Jamal Barrow, and something happened. They let out shots. One of them hit this lady in the face, and they sped off. And they tried to put all the charges on Shine, and so Shine ended up getting arrested, going to prison, and then getting deported back to Belize. Luckily, he's reformed his life in Belize. I think the man became like a born again Christian, and he's now like a senator in Belize. No thanks to Puffy though, but he has forgiven Puffy for letting him take the charge on that, because the woman who got shot in the face still says to this day that it wasn't Shine who shot her, that it was Puffy, that she saw him when he shot her, and that she still had fragments of the shell in her face, and she said she would be willing to let them surgically remove the those those parts of the shell that hit her in the face, just to have it ballistically matched to the gun that Puffy had at the time. So again, this is a track record from 91 on of him having reckless and violent behavior. And then, of course, throughout that time, throughout the 90s, there were the LGBTQ rumors about him. Um, Something that he never really addressed. He just, um, but there was rumors that he had things going on with like the R&B singer Christopher Williams. He sung this song, if I'm dreaming, just let me sleep. I'm not gonna sing the song, but it was a hit on the movie New Jack City. He actually starred in New Jack City as well. He was the light skinned guy who was the accountant and brother of the of the girlfriend that Nino Brown was dating on the movie. But he also had songs on the soundtrack, which I think was released under Uptown Records, where Puffy was an A&R at the time. he got fired from Uptown from Andre Harrell because he was, I guess, trying too hard to act like he was the boss. Um, but he then he formed his own record label, Bad Boy, with the artists Craig Mack and with Biggie. Those were his two first artists. He shitted on Craig Mack because Biggie didn't like Craig Mack, even though Craig Mack was the first artist that he signed. They did a record deal, and then it fell through. Like, he gave no more support to Craig Mack after seeing that Biggie didn't like him, and Biggie was his top artist on his label. So he pretty much completely fucked over Craig Mack's musical career. So this isn't my answer to some of these black YouTube creators that say we shouldn't like go after Puff because we're like taking a black man down or whatever. I'm like, how many black men did Puffy take down in his pursuit of his own in the pursuit of his own career? How many people did he fuck over who were black men? So I don't want to hear this bullshit that some of these YouTube lawyers keep saying about Puffy, saying you shouldn't be attacking another black man because you're just crabs in a barrel. Arguments that really don't add up because at the end of the day, Puffy's hurt more black men in his last 35 years than you know he himself being taken down for his reckless behavior. Like I said, we have possible homicide charges or conspiracy to homicide, possible grape charges, trafficking charges, and I haven't even gotten to that part yet. So that was '99 with the whole J Lo and Shine and all that sort of stuff. Um, but we're gonna talk about other black men that he screwed over in the pursuit of his own wealth and career and fame. He also tried to screw over the Locks. Like, it was so bad that when they left Bad Boy, first of all, he still was collecting money from them even when they left the label. Of course, his excuse was that they should have looked over the contract before signing it. Yes, except that it's been known in some cases that Puffy would tell people that if they wanted a lawyer to look over their contracts, that he wasn't going to sign them. So you can't say, "Oh, well, you should have looked over your contract," while at the same time actively telling people that you won't have a record deal if you decide to have a lawyer look over your contracts. Which is why they called Bad Boy at the time, when they went to the Rough Riders label, on Def Jam Records. They called Bad Boy Raping You Records, and they did a whole skit on that on their CD when they left Puffy. Um, and he wouldn't allow anyone at Masters when Mace wanted to leave. Mace, after his second record, he like I said, he did a group album with some friends of his from Harlem under Entertainment called Harlem World. And while they were touring, he just decided to up and quit the business. He apparently had some religious epiphany, went up to church, according to his autobiography. He was in church and just felt the call and asked to be saved. And he just thought he needed to get out the record business because he couldn't live a, the kind of life he wanted to lead as a born again Christian by staying a musician. So he didn't even tell his fellow group members on his album that he was leaving. Like, they just found out on the news like everyone else did, which was pretty messed up. But again, I get it if you live in a pretty debaucherous sort of lifestyle. And apparently, a few years ago, when Puffy already knew he was under investigation for several things, he had released the masters to all his former artists, the Locks, Mace, um, Faith, 112, all of them, and I'm pretty sure those came with some I'm pretty sure those came with some stipulations that they not talk about certain things because at one point Mace was living in Puffy's house. So I'm pretty sure he has a lot to say about that time. Usher was once living with Puffy. Puffy was when Usher first came out when he was 14 back in 1992. Um, he was a Puffy was his legal guardian. Like I don't know how his mother agreed to that, but to become an artist, he had to stay in New York to record his music and stuff like that. And Puffy became his legal guardian, so he was living with Puff. He even said that a lot of crazy stuff was going on in the house, and that he, that Puffy kept bringing older women to the house to try to take Usher's virginity. That's cringe. Looking at it now, like as a teenager, you might be like, it that was seem cool. Looking at it now as an older man, that was very inappropriate. Only for instance, super chat buy this man a coffee. Thank you guys. Yeah, thank you guys. That would be really great if you did. And thank you, Moonlit Fern. What's going on? Moonlit Fern says Jada Kiss brought it up. Drink Champs podcast, and yeah, Usher and Bieber got Diddy. The Diddler. But yeah, so where are we at? So this is the early 2000s now. Um, his and again his former bodyguard says pretty much every time Puffy had a name changes when something was going on in his life that he wanted to distance himself from. That's why he's changed his name so many times from Puff to Puff Daddy to Puffy to to, to P Diddy to Diddy to Brother Love, then to Love. So whatever. So like in the 2000s, that's when he started dating the cute little artist, his former girlfriend, and she alleged a lot of abuse with him. Not to mention he was still in a relationship with his baby mother Kim Porter. I want to also acknowledge this. So his first baby mother was a girlfriend who was Biggie's in Biggie's old video when they're all sitting in a hot tub together. And that's like Puffy's girlfriend at the time and baby mother, whom he had Justin by his first child, and whom he named his failed restaurant. I don't know, people probably won't remember this if you're not older, but back in the '90s, he had his own soul food restaurant called Justin's that he named after his first child. Uh, that fell through. One of the friends that's chilling, bro. Hey, I want to ask you to ask your missus if she can to tell him to give Miss Moon a good reference because she had a great interview about regional managers in the Philippines. A great and a good reference. Wait, what institution is she applying for? Because if she, I don't think she can give. Well, I'll ask her, but I'm not sure if a reference would work if it's not where she's working. And Moonless, for instance, Diddy and Jay-Z gonna get taken down. Oh, yeah, I ain't get to that yet, but yeah. So where am I? Um, oh, so okay, so we're going back, we're skipping back down to the '90s. I'll tell you offline. All right, cool. Yeah, definitely hit me off offline. Um, so so his first baby mother. started dating Suge Knight. This is what started the beef between those guys. So everyone's like, is it East Coast versus West Coast? No, it was basically two people who own record companies who didn't like each other. Originally, Puffy and Suge Knight used to actually get along. Puffy even admitted that he modeled Bad Boy Records after Death Row Records. What happened is they had a falling out. One, it started with when uh, Puffy's baby mother, his first baby mother, started dating Suge Knight, and it was even, I think, like a video or a picture of him holding Justin when he was a baby. I don't think Puffy liked that. um, so I don't know if people noticed. Not, and then it was sometimes they were hanging out, and Suge Knight smacked up Puffy a few times. Uh, Now I already saw that message juice though, which is funny. But let me get back to my train of thought. So that was the first thing. Then after his baby mother, with whom he had Justin, there was Kim Porter, who was I guess, sort of a supermodel at the time. Pretty, a pretty brown skinned lady. She put up with all of Puffy's antics. He used to beat on her. He used to like, they used to force her to have sex with other people, do drugs, that sort of thing. And like Puffy's former bodyguard said, he didn't do this with every girl he dated. He only did this with the girls he could get away with this with. Like, he didn't do this stuff to J Lo because J Lo was a high profile person. He would get, it wouldn't it would kill his career if he tried to do something like that to J Lo. He used to cheat on J Lo because through all his other relationships, he still kept Kim Porter. For some reason, Kim Porter would not leave him, and he wouldn't let her leave him. More importantly, so they had this back and forth. She tried to come out with an autobiography right before she passed away suddenly of some terminal illness. So there are some people still saying that they don't believe that her terminal illness was the primary cause of her premature death. They think maybe, and this is pure speculation, so I'm not assuming this is true either, but there is speculation that he has something to do with Kim Porter's premature death. I think they had like two or three kids together, right? Not just not to mention the other kids that Puffy's had, like the one he had with the Asian woman 2 years ago, no, a year ago. Um, she's also said that he was abusive to her too. The Asian woman he dated last year. Um, and then, like I said, he was still dating Kim Porter while he was with J Lo. When he was dating Cassie, he was still with Kim Porter. Under Cassie, like I said, he mistreated her. The whole reason she had half of her head shaved off was just because he once saw some other women doing it in like a video or something and told her, go shave your head and look like them. And she did whatever he wanted pretty much. He treated her the same way he treated Kim Porter, apparently, which was abusive. He made her have sex with other people and other sorts of stuff. What we can definitively know is that he was abusive to her because we literally saw the security footage of it a few months ago, right? So that came to light. So when all those people were defending him, saying, "Well, he's not even guilty of anything," like, all right, but yeah, we see a video of him literally beating the shit out of his girlfriend. Not to mention, he wouldn't let her leave him either because he basically held her career in his hands. So if she left him, he was gonna basically blacklist her from the music world. You notice she hasn't been performing since she left him. But she ended up marrying another guy. who also threw shade at Puffy, saying that he needs to come out of the closet, even though he didn't name Puffy by name. It was pretty the this the inference was there that he was referencing Puffy, that he was his inference was, I mean, his, yeah, he was talking about Puffy. Um, Kim Porter, among the friends says Kim Porter caught his hands long before Cassie. Yep. Among the friends also says agreed to juice dope, and yeah, Puffy wanted to be Suge. It's the record label monopolies that's fighting for power. So yeah, so what really caused that beef between Suge and Puffy, which ended up becoming this East Coast versus West Coast, when the artists on both coasts didn't hate each other at all. Most of them actually liked each other. It was these two super producers who were going at each other, and because they had so many people under their sway, it it caused a problem. Plus, let's say this: the media was being really hip hop. The hip hop journalists and media at the time were reporting this stuff really irresponsibly. They were throwing gas on the flames at the time. Like, they kept saying this is an East Coast versus West Coast, and every time you saw interviews, these artists were saying, "Well, this isn't East Coast versus West Coast. This is some people who hate each other." They was like, but all these artists on both sides of the coast at the time, back in the '90s and early 2000s, said we don't hate them. They both said that. Like, it was literally journalists and media trying to make it into this bi-coastal war because it sold more magazines at the time. When people read magazines, it sold more magazines. It it made it made it also helped record sales because people wanted to see if the artists were going to keep talking about each other and each other's songs. So every time you did have a song that was really like inflammatory, like "Hit 'Em Up" by Tupac, or "Who Shot Ya" by Biggie, these became big songs, big singles, because people couldn't get enough of this so-called West East Coast West Coast beef. And it wasn't. It was Suge Knight hated Puffy and Puffy hated Suge. At one point, it got so bad because someone in the death row camp was unalived, and it was blamed on someone from under Puffy. So um, then, like I said, all the stuff came to a head with Cassie. Then we hear about this trafficking. Then we hear about Puffy having a substance abuse problem. We saw how cringe he was acting towards Bieber, saying, "When you gonna come hang out with me?" Like, you're a 50-year-old man asking like a 14-year-old kid, "When you gonna come hang out with me?" Ugh, that, ugh. Or something that happened where this one guy said, "I'm gonna put you out there if you don't pay me off," and Jay-Z literally had to tell Puffy, "Hey, you need to pay this guy what he wants, or he will like end up destroying everything you built." And so, like, right now, with all these charges he's having, it's like the trafficking charge. There's the charges by multiple women now coming out saying he's done stuff to them. And if you look at the breakdown, like I said, go to the YouTube channel Legal Eagle, who broke this stuff down months ago. The the investigation included Puffy, but he wasn't the at the time he wasn't the center of the investigation of which we were privy to. It was actually his son, one of his sons, not Justin, but I think it was the one who thinks he's a rapper right now. Uh, him, somehow Cuba Gooding Jr. was involved, and he's already had some. He was already been was fighting charges on a previous sex crime. I'm talking about Cuba Gooding Jr. So he was involved in the investigation. His son was the white guy he had basically being his drug mule was tied up in it. But like I said, it got worse because there were other women starting to come out now accusing Puffy of similar things that Cassie said he did to her. And we had a guy who was a artist for Puffy saying that basically Puffy forced him to have sex with him in order to get a deal, get a record deal. So this is the thing that just came out, several weeks ago. So all this stuff together, I'm sure is has come into this grand jury indictment that just was handed down to that man today. He was arrested in a hotel in Manhattan, so you know it had to be bad. And this this came from a U.S. An assistant U.S. attorney, so you know this is big. And for people saying several months ago, well, they ain't even charging with anything. You guys are just trying to make it sound worse because you just want to, see a black man go down. I'm like, dude, you realize his house was raided by the feds. The feds don't come after someone unless they already have damning evidence on them. They're not like the state. They're not like local police. Lo- late the state and local police will nab you and then try to build a case after the fact. The feds know. They build their case and then they grab you. They have better resources than municipal and state police. So they'll do their investigation prior to nabbing you, and then once they've amassed enough damning evidence to try you, that's when they come and arrest you. So by the time he was raided, his houses were raided, they already had enough on him. So we knew. So for all the people saying, well, you guys just jumping the gun because he wasn't even charged with anything, I was like, oh, it's coming. The feds don't nab you until they've already had damning evidence of you. So we knew this grand jury indictment was coming down the pipe. It was just a matter of fucking time. um, and I want people to remember they didn't just raid one of his mansions. They raided three mansions in three different parts of the country. They raided his L.A. mansion, his New York City mansion, and his Miami mansion. Three mansions raided by the feds. And we're not just talking about FBI, we're talking about Department of Homeland Security. If they got Department of Homeland Security coming after you on trafficking charges, it's bad. If you don't believe it's bad, just remember the last celebrity that was raided on trafficking charges by the Department of Homeland Security was R. Kelly. So it didn't work out too well for R. Kelly, did it? You can have the best of lawyers, but if they got damning evidence, it's just going to be a matter of not whether you beating the charges, but you plea into a lesser a lesser crime. But trust me, they got stuff on that man. When I saw they raided three of his mansions and it was Department of Homeland Security, I was like, oh yeah, they got him. Plus, here's another thing, and anyone who's law enforcement can probably tell you this. When they come to raid those houses, when SWAT or whatever, when they come to raid these houses, they already have an informant. They already know what to expect when they raid these houses. They have a general idea of who's going to be there, what they're coming to collect. Like they know what basically so they know what time to come there because they anticipate knowing who's going to be there at that time and what they can reach, what they can what they can nab for evidence for their investigation because they are already informants to these people when they do a raid. Law enforcement, some people outside of law enforcement, they may not tell you this, but again, if they're raiding your crib, they already got an informant on the inside. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Just because they didn't arrest that man didn't mean they didn't have evidence against them. They were building a case, so they didn't have reason to arrest him at the time. But they did tell him he he can't just go. He's not free just to leave the country like that, like because he was in the Caribbean at the time when they raided his houses. The reason he was in the Caribbean at the time is because he knew his places were going to get raided, and they immediately grounded his private jets. They told him he was still free, but he wasn't allowed to just off go off and fly to Bali like some other people. They grounded his jets. So again, he knew what was coming down the pipeline, and they told him that they were gonna, they probably already let him know what was happening. Robert kind of says, "Hey, yo, got a Batman question if that's all right." I see. At least you asked me first. I don't mind, but give me 1 second though, if you don't mind, and then go ahead. I don't mind answering that. But yeah. So guys, like I said, for all these people who were defending Puffy months ago, saying, "Well, they didn't even arrest him on anything," so you guys just want to make, you guys just want to see a black man go down. It has nothing to do with that. First of all, I'm not gonna support every black man when they doing something that's clearly fucking wrong. On top of that, how many black men did Puffy destroy in the pursuit of his wealth and fame? So I'm not trying to hear that shit from some of these little YouTube lawyers. Um, and three, like I said, if there was nothing going on with him, they wouldn't have raided three of his fucking mansions by the Department of Homeland Security because they did the same because they raided R. Kelly's mansion under the by the Department of Homeland Security on trafficking charges, and that ended up sticking. Still in prison now. And like I said, from 1991 till now, he's had a history of reckless and violent behavior. From the person getting killed at the charity basketball event all the way back in like 91, 92, up until now. So you guys can, so all the people that was going at me in the comments of my previous videos for the last several months, every time I mentioned something about Puffy, all right, well, argue with your mother because now that man has just been arrested on a grand jury indictment. So as some of those people say who are locked up, the man just got his graduation papers. He just got his graduation papers. Anyway, all right, go ahead. Go ahead, Robert. Go. You can ask me Batman questions. I'll always entertain a Batman question. What? I thought this was like a serious Batman question. You said if Batman caught me smoking crack, how do you think you would handle that? What do you mean? How do you think? You mean how do I think he would handle that? That doesn't. All right, that doesn't really make sense. I thought you had like a serious like Batman question. You don't think in, and we're talking fiction here, so take this uh take this with a grain of salt, since we're speculating on the dispositions of a fictional person. But since I said you could ask, I'm gonna answer it anyway, even though I thought it was gonna be like a different question than that. In Batman's pursuit of justice and preventing crime, you don't think he's come across people who are addicts? Literally, Bane is an addict to his venom drug that gives him superhuman strength, but he's addicted to venom, which is sort of like a mix of like steroids and and the opioid. Fictionally speaking, he's come across addicts and stuff like that. I think some of you watch too many of those Gavin Blake videos where he just beats up people all the time. That's not the persona of Batman in the comic books. He comes across people who are addicts and stuff all the time. He has quite a bit of sympathy for people like that. He's not going to beat someone up because they have a substance abuse problem. And he would probably try to get those people into the sort of help they need. I mean, he literally has a the Wayne Foundation that actually helps people. Like most people know, most people know of the part of the Wayne Foundation that is set up for like orphan children. That's part of it, but he also has the Wayne Foundation that helps people trying to um, rebuild their lives. But yeah, I thought that was going to be a better Batman question. So um, on that note, I'm not going to take any more questions outside of the topic unless it's dropped in the super chat, because I thought that was going to be a more legitimate question. But then he helped Bane. I don't know. It's been so many storylines with Bane. The first, the one I know of the best is the original appearance of Bane in the Nightfall series, where he breaks Batman back. Batman then goes into like a retirement and he appoints uh, Azrael as his replacement, who's a more brutal version of Batman, while he goes off to other countries to recoup and retrain. But there's other versions. There's other Bane storylines where Bane sets up this mastermind thing to take over Gotham, and in the process, he kills Alfred, which still sucks because Alfred's still, as far as I know, still dead in the canon Batman books after Bane has killed him. I really hate that. I really need them to bring Alfred back, but yeah, Bane has killed him, and he set it up so that uh, Catwoman and he would fall in love, and they almost they even had a wedding to which she ended up not um, rejecting Bruce Wayne and not going through with the marriage just to fuck with Batman's mind. Like he literally had all that happen just to fuck with Batman's mind. But again, he like I said, I think people watch too many of those Gavin Blake videos where he shows him like going off on people for small reasons. People forget Batman is not the Punisher, and if people's only theatrical version of Batman they're familiar with is the Ben Affleck version, then that's not a good version. Because in Batman versus Superman, they made him like this proto fascist. That was not Batman's personality at all. Like he, you know, and no, he not like he's gonna go around beating up drug addicts. That's not what he does. Now, if those drug addicts are attacking innocent people, yes, then he will apprehend them. But he doesn't go out of his way to hurt people. The only time that he was actually like very violent towards people was after the second Robin died, who later becomes the Red Hood. Um, but when Jason Todd was killed by the Joker, then he became a really violent version of Batman until he met Tim Drake, the third Robin, who calmed him down. Um, but other than that, he disagrees wholeheartedly with just like being unnecessarily brutal. One of the reasons he had a falling out with Jason Todd as the second Robin anyway, because the second Jason Todd was too brutal, as was his own actual son Damian Wayne, who's the fifth Robin. But anyway, so yeah, um, I, I didn't know you meant it facetiously. But anyway, so uh, but yeah, back to the Puffy thing. So like I said, he's gotten his graduation papers, his grand jury indictment. We'll see what happened, but as far as we know, I don't think they've released what the actual um, indictment charges are. We don't know if it's the trafficking. We don't know if it's the drug charges. We don't know if it's the possible sexual assault of the guy who wanted to be an artist on the Bad Boy label, um, or if it's some new charges from many years back, since he's had a lot of women come out now and basically accuse him of similar things to which he did to Cassie and Kim Porter. So if anyone else has more insight on that, please drop it in here. But I don't really see anyone in the chat room, so let me see what time it is. Oh yeah, no wonder. It's 1:30. Um, but anyway, back to Robert Connor's Batman question. Now, the Punisher, he will kick someone's ass just for being an addict. The Punisher is basically when the Punisher was first created, he was basically meant to be a mockery of Batman. Like he was a vigilante whose family was taken from him, but he was meant to show the extreme of Batman. And then we end up having that Zack Snyder film where it took all the things that people make jokes about Batman and actually made him do that sort of crazy shit. Like he's actually branding people for um who have like hurt either minors or women, and you know which way I'm talking about. He brands them in the movie so that they will get their due punishment in prison, which is horrible. That is not something the real Batman would do. Well, not the well, I say real Batman, but you know what I mean when I say real Batman, like the canonical comic book Batman. Like that's not something he would do. He was also fine with shooting people and running them over. To be fair, so did Michael Keaton. But Michael Keaton was never supposed to represent like the canonical Batman. He was always meant to be like a Batman in the Tim Burton universe, which was just this, which was more like a gothic, dark version of Batman. So it's because I know a lot of people say, well, Michael Keaton was killing people and stuff too, but it was different just for the fact that he 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 was purposely showing a grittier version of Batman because they were trying to get away from the Batman from the Adam West version of Batman from the 60s. They were trying to pivot far away from that. So they did so by one ditching Robin. There was no Robin, although there were plans in the sequel to originally have a Robin in Batman Returns. It was gonna at one point they were looking at Michael Jackson as Robin. Yes, Michael Jackson and Marlon Wayans. I think there's still footage somewhere actually showing Marlon Wayans dressed up as Robin. Yes, Marlon Wayans. That would have been freaking horrible. I'm just gonna say it would have been freaking horrible seeing Marlon Wayans as Robin in Batman Returns. But originally in the original script, he was supposed to be in there. But anyway, the Michael Keaton version of Batman in the Tim Burton universe is a hard pivot away from the Adam West Batman from the 60s campy TV show. So we give that version of Batman some grace, even though he wasn't muscular, he wasn't mm, like he didn't have a physically menacing demeanor. Although his uniform was dope, the uniform was scary, but Michael Keaton himself, eh, he was more menacing outside of the the uniform. Um, and like I said, he would hit people with his Batmobile and just let people die. Or he actually actively killed someone in Batman Returns when he handed the guy a bomb and then just smiled and walked away as he blew up. But it was it was comedic, so he got away with them with it, I guess. Juice Dope says, "Is the anime Batman Beyond where Bruce becomes old and fragile actually canon?" No, that's not canon. There was a comic book based off of Batman Beyond, but the Batman Beyond has always been an alternate universe situation. But yeah, it's never been considered canon. But it would have been nice if they had used Michael Keaton to do a Batman Beyond. But anyway, so yeah, so guys, like I said, Sean Combs or Diddy, Puffy, Diddler, whatever, this man has been doing some crazy stuff since the 90s. So this is just chickens coming home to roost at this point. So it's different when you realize that not even Batman can beat old age. Yeah, but he's he's human though. He's not a superhuman. That's what makes it all the better. Is that he shows he shows the he represents the height of human potential. Like he's one of the few people who's just immortal on the Justice League team, who's one of the founding members, but he's not a metahuman like the rest of them. But he's the first one in the door and the last one to leave, and the most powerful beings on the Justice League still respect him and fear him. um, Justo says, "What is the news on Pete Diller? I don't even stay up on the hip hop news." Well, that was the whole topic. Like I said, he's just been arrested today on a grand jury indictment. That's what I was saying the whole time. And then I just gave a history from the '90s of all the crazy shit he's done or been involved in. How his dislike for another guy sparked an entire beef between two different coasts of the country where every artist got involved in it. Despite every time an artist being interviewed, they kept saying that this beef isn't between all of us and all of them. It's just between Bad Boy and Death Row. They was like that beef is between them, not between all of us. Like I said, he's been reckless his whole life. Like I said, his dislike for Suge Knight and Suge Knight's dislike for him started a whole beef between two different coasts that affected every hip hop artist at the time. Even the even though most of them didn't want to be involved in it. So what exactly did P Diddy do? Is this a sexual scandal or something else? Dude, you haven't been watching the news for like the last 6 months. Like this started with the whole Cassie thing to 2 years ago when she accused him of something and then he quickly paid her off for a undisclosed amount of money. But after the fact, stuff still came out of what he was doing with other people, saying that he was committing trafficking or involved in trafficking with other people, and it's been on the news. Like I don't know how, it's been on the news. Literally every news outlet has talked about it, and these are major news sources. I'm talking about CNN, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, USA Today. I don't see how you saying you don't have time for it, but you're on the live stream. The presidential debate is the most uneventful thing to talk about. Like I said, this again, when Cat Williams did that interview with Shannon Sharp on his podcast last year, he predicted stuff like this was happening. He was like, "Look, this is going to be a year where a lot of stuff gets aired out." He was already predicting because he probably already knew that there was artists facing crimes of this nature. So we know Jermaine Dupri is also facing some crimes like this right now. Irv Gotti from Murder Inc. is facing some similar charges right now. Um, like I said, the people involved in the investigation with Puffy has also been Cuba Gooding Jr. as well as Puffy's son. I forgot his name. The one who thinks he can rap. That guy, the one who said he was smack anyone he hears saying no Diddy. Well, no Diddy. I've said it like at least 1,000 times. I'm sure is he gonna go around the globe smacking everyone who says no Diddy? I doubt it. He's facing his own charges, so he needs to shut up. so, um, like I say, there's been multiple accusers coming out ever since the investigation went down. I was like, I don't know how you missed this. Like I said, the guy literally got raided by the Department of Homeland Security. People kept saying, "Oh, they raided his L.A. homes." No, they raided three of his mansions, and I think he also has a place outside of the country as well. But all his American homes were raided. His L.A. home, his Manhattan home, and his Miami home. Yeah, King Combs is facing issues. Plus, they were talking trash months ago on I think on the IG live stream saying, yeah, that's why they couldn't find us and find all the stuff we stashed and blah blah blah. I was like, you saying this when alive, like you don't think they're I was like, you don't think they're listening into this stuff to this sort of stuff. Like, you guys are stupid. Like at least the mob knew how to keep omerta. Like you guys are dumb. You're sitting on there on a live IG stream talking about, yeah, that's why they didn't know about this and that. I'm like, okay, keep talking. They're listening. All that stuff will be used as evidence against you. Because, like I said, when if you want to know what, if you want to have a thorough breakdown of it, Justo, go to this YouTube channel called Legal Eagle. He's an actual bona fide lawyer. I'm not going to say that some of these black YouTubers aren't bona fide lawyers, but they're not as smart as he is. I'm just going to say it. And I don't care if they're watching. I'm saying it. Yes, Legal Eagle is a better lawyer than you are. Not because he's white, but because he gives a better legal analysis. Legal Eagle, that's the name of his channel. So it's literally just called Legal Eagle. He did a whole he did a whole episode on the Diddy investigation at that time, which was like this was like 4 or 5 months ago. And he broke down the investigation at the time, and he was showing that actually Puffy wasn't at the center of the investigation at the time. It was actually his like two of his sons and Cuba Gooding Jr. I don't know how Cuba Gooding Jr. got involved, but Cuba Gooding Jr. also had some accusations of sex crimes just a few years ago himself. So now that he's facing that again, that's not good. So we don't know what the current grand jury indictment that came down today against Puffy is actually about. We just know that he was arrested at a Manhattan hotel over it. Legal Eagle, yes. Like the old TV show Legal Eagles. His channel's Legal Eagle. And he actually and he also has an actual law firm that people can consult as well on his channel. Like I said, I'm not going to name these other uh, legal YouTube channels because I don't want to bash them, but they don't have the quality that he puts into his channel as far as the production quality, the legal acumen. Like I said, I think his stuff is just better. Probably because he went to better schools and he's just simply of a higher intellect. So Juice Dope says men in power need to play it more smarter when it comes to their escapades. They need to make the women sign an NDA or something. Well, yeah, but the NDAs don't protect you against anything, cause against everything. Because um, apparently he had Cassie sign an NDA after he paid her off. However, I think even if they do an NDA, if the if the feds approach her about something that can nullify the NDA, so people have to. I think people need to realize that aren't NDAs don't protect you against everything, and NDAs can be nullified in certain instances. So if you're doing dirt, an NDA is not going to always protect you. It gives some legal protection, but it's it's not it's not the cure all that people think it is. It's just like so. Another thing is like when it comes to marriages, like people think that that doing a what do you call it when you get married, a sorry, it's late, guys. I can't remember all my words here. Uh, when you get a someone help me out. A pre Yes, thank you. A prenuptial agreement that doesn't always protect you. Prenuptial agreements can be overturned in court. So just like an NDA can't always protect you, a prenuptial agreement doesn't always protect you either. Like people need to realize that they need to know there's different types of prenups, just like there's different types of non-disclosure agreements, and some of them have lesser legal lesser legal status than others. So it's and then it depends on the state as well, because some states won't honor certain legal contracts that in the same way that other states will. This is why whether you have a prenuptial agreement or not, in California, you're probably still going to get fucked if you're a man. So I'm just going to say it. I would say this generally, and, and people can say I'm being red pill or whatever. I don't care. I see no benefit for an American man marrying an American woman. And if you're a high value man, it makes even less sense. But also, if you do happen to get married, do not do it in California. Do not do it in California. Do not do it in California. Yes, I'm using the Dr. Umar technique because it works. Do not get married in California, if at all. But like I said, those NDAs and prenuptial agreements are not ironclad. Vegas, I don't know, but again, Vegas is very close to California. A person, you don't just because that's why I said it makes even less sense if you're a high value man to get married in America, because when you're high value, that means your wife, is going to have access to more resources. They don't have to file for divorce in the state in which you were married. You can marry in Las Vegas, but they can still file for divorce in California. I mean, I'm not trying to be an armchair divorce lawyer here. I'm just telling people, don't think that nonsense. Don't think that all these legal contracts are ironclad, because they're not. The law is the law is relative. By I mean, by its very nature, the law has to be relative. But yeah, prenuptial agreements are not ironclad. Non-disclosure agreements are not ironclad. Like I said, um, Cassie signed some sort of NDA or something of the sort when Puffy paid her off a year ago, when she decided she wanted to go public with the things she suffered under him. And then after he paid her off, she shut up because he got her to sign an NDA. But when the feds did this investigation and they wanted to ask her about what happened, she, that meant that she could still do it without violating the NDA. So NDAs are not ironclad if it's a matter of an investigation in which the information you were not disclosing was part of that agreement that would be a part of a federal investigation. That that federal over excuse me that federal investigation supersedes that NDA. So Justo says, "What's your opinion on the age gap relationships where the man is significantly older?" I don't have a problem with it as long as there's two consenting adults. I don't care. That's only in America that um, let me use my words carefully. So only in America will older men get shamed for finding nubile women. Nubile women tend to be of a younger age, and age gap relationships has always been since the dawn of human civilization, because they make sense. Older men tend to be more mature and have more resources to take care of these women who tend to be more beautiful and able to have bear healthy children. The reason why men put such a premium on beauty is for evolutionary reasons. Beauty, before we had modern medicine, beauty was a key indicator of health as well as young age. Young age was a sign that you were fertile. So before we had modern medicine extend how far a woman can have children with these geriatric pregnancies for women over 35 years old, now we now they're saying we shouldn't count pregnancies over 35 years old as geriatric pregnancies because modern medicine has made it that women can still have healthy children at that age, but that hasn't been the case for most of human history. That's why men have always put a premium on younger women and on beauty because again beauty was a key indicator of health in prehistoric times up until modern times. Younger age has been a sign of fertility. So age gap relationships has always been the norm, and anyone who's taken psychology and knows about the psychology um, of relationships or the psychology of sex knows that age gap relationships are actually healthier relationships. It's shamed here in America because basically the the women who are about the same age as these men are now have to compete with their daughters for access to these same men. So they shame these men into not choosing these nubile women because it goes against their better interest that these men choose their daughters over them. On top of that, young men shame older men too because these young men have to compete with these older men for these younger women and they don't have the same resources that these older men do to take care of these younger women. So both younger men and older women have to shame older men for dating younger women because they know they both can't compete with these people on their own rights. So that's what I'll say on that. Uh, Justo says, but what if the roles are reversed, older women and younger men? Well, two things. One, we see that all the time. And when it does happen, no one shames these women. They're called, they're often called cougars and stuff like that, but no one says that they're predators, that they're being uh, S eggs, Yule predators for dating younger men. They're often seen as, it's often seen as desirable. I mean, sometimes they see these women as being desperate, but oftentimes it's actually fetishized. The fact that these older women will go after these younger men is fetishized, but in a similar, but when it's reversed, it's seen as predatory. It's all this is all due to how people choose to look at things. This is why people need to make a distinction between, and I said this before when I talked about morality several days ago. People don't know how to make a distinction between morals, personal distaste, and social norms. Just because you find something distasteful doesn't make it immoral. Just because something breaks a social norm doesn't make it immoral. Also, just because something is legal doesn't mean it's moral, and vice versa. Just because something is moral doesn't mean it's legal. So you gotta make those distinctions. Uh, but like I said, it's women aren't put in the same predatory category for dating younger men as older men are for dating younger women. and that's because it's less common for older women to be pursued in that way. So, like, personally, I don't care whether younger men and older women date or whether older men and younger women date. As long as it's consensual, I don't care. Let consenting adults do whatever they want, as long as it doesn't hurt other people. That's where I am. That's the psychological standpoint. As long as it's consenting and it's not hurting others, who cares? But I want to get back to the actual topic because you just like asking asking random stuff. Unless you want to bring that to how I guess Puffy was dating Cassie and she was like significantly younger than him. Because I mean, shit, Cassie is younger than me, and he started dating her when she was like, I'm gonna say 18 or 19. This was back in 2005 when they started dating, which is another crummy thing that he did. So I don't care if she's younger. The crummy thing is that she was his artist. It's like, don't date your artist. Like, if you want to date her, then date her, but don't use her as your artist as leverage to be. I'm not gonna keep answering. You keep asking me random stuff that has nothing to do with the topic. I'm not gonna talk about the LGBTQ community. That's a whole different subject. I don't know if you just thinking of random stuff or whatever, but no. Well, you should kind of look it up. But yeah, I'm about to go. It's an hour and 30 minutes in. No one's really chatting about it, and it's late. So you can look up the investigation in its entirety on Legal Eagle on the streaming platform Tubi. They've done a documentary on it, and they did one on the and surprisingly they also did one on Hulu and Disney Plus. Um, and it's just part one on Disney Plus, but I know there's going to be like probably a part two and a part three or something like that. Um, 50 Cent has sold his documentary on Puffy to Netflix, but we don't know when that's coming out. That'll probably come out a year or two from now. But there is one right now on Tubi, and there's one on Disney Plus or Hulu, whichever app you have. Hulu and Disney Plus have merged, so whatever's on Hulu is also on Disney Plus. And Legal Eagle has done a breakdown of all the legal quagmire surrounding Puffy. So, but I'm not going to like answer like random questions because it messes up the topic. But yeah, like I said, I could care less if Cassie was significantly younger than Diddy. They as long as she was consenting. My thing is it it was sketchy because she was his artist and they already started dating. Plus, he was still dating Kim Porter at the time. So that that was messed up. And he, like I said, the chick he just had a baby by a year ago, the Asian chick, he he was abusive to her as well. So, like I said, so people saying, you know, we shouldn't look, we shouldn't be reveling in the fall of this of a black man, and that we need to protect all like wealthy, high profile black men. I'm like, no, we don't. No, we don't. Why should we protect people who are creating who perpetuate a negative image of us? We should be shunning them, not protecting them, because they're the ones who make it harder for the rest of us with the image that they portray and perpetuate about black men being deviants. So on that note, guys, I'm about to go unless anyone else has any questions actually related to the topic, or if they want to drop a super chat or super sticker, I'll take those questions as well. But I think starting tomorrow, unless it's a super chat or super sticker, I will not answer anything that does not actually talk about the actual topic. Like I've been nice so far, and I'll say, well, I'll take a few questions, but I know every time I do it can lead down a rabbit hole. Justo says, I don't think he needs to be protected, but I don't think his situation should be in a spotlight either. Well, it's going to be in a spotlight because he's such a prominent figure. He's a music mogul. It's not like he's just like a low tier rapper or musician. Like he's a music mogul. He holds a lot of sway in the industry. So it's just like with Harvey Weinstein. He was a huge Hollywood producer and mogul. So when he does something, it's going to be in a spotlight, especially when it's affected so many people within that circle. So a lot of stuff that Puffy's done is going to affect a lot of people in the circle. Like I said, there was times Cassie was trying to get away from him, and he wouldn't. He would threaten to destroy her career. He sent his goons after her. At one point, Kid Cudi tried to date her. He allegedly had that man's car blown up on some serious mafia shit. He had that man's car blown up, and Kid Cudi, has confirmed it. He said yes. He said he wanted to date Cassie, and Puffy had his car blown up. That's some mafia shit. Justo says, yeah, but most kids don't know much about Diddy. He just regained a bit of infamy with the younger crowd after all this. I don't care what younger kids think. I, honestly, this isn't for them. It honestly isn't. I don't care about Gen Alpha, and I don't really care about Gen Z. My channel isn't even geared towards them. I mean, I get a few in the audience. I mean, that I talk to like Lyman and some others, but I don't give a fuck about Gen Alpha, Gen Z. This ain't for them. Besides that, they have internet, so they can look shit up. I don't want to hear any excuse from young people who one are better at technology than everyone else, and two literally have all of the world's information in the palm of their hands. When I wanted to look up something when I was a kid, I had to go to a fucking encyclopedia volume, or I had to take my ass all the way to the library. There was no looking stuff up on the internet back in the 80s and 90s, early 90s, prior to 1994. It was either you go to an encyclopedia, you go to a dictionary, or you take your butt to the library. That's how we learn things. But to say, well, they don't know about this current music, then look it up. Google it. I mean, they Chat GPT can answer any question. Chat GPT or the version by Google, um, Google has their AI, their generative AI called Gemini, which is a rival to Chat GPT. Meta is coming out with their own thing, Meta AI. So there's no excuse not to find anything on any given topic that you want, unless it's not publicly accessible. Well, yeah, they're not getting smarter because there's actually a reverse Flynn effect, which means that they've actually been performing worse on IQ tests than previous generations. So they're literally facing idiocracy, where the machines are going to be the ones that can control everything because they're too stupid to do it themselves. Either idiocracy or Wally, whichever situation comes down the pipe. It could be Wally because they're also out of shape as shit and low testosterone. So it's going to either be Wally or Idiocracy. I don't know if you saw Disney's Wally, Pixar's Wally, but it's probably going to be a combination of that and Idiocracy. But yeah, I haven't. I don't hear anyone's excuse on they not knowing something when they can just use Chat GPT or Google Gemini. I know Microsoft has one through their Bing as well. And besides that, like I said, um, Puffy's been around for 3 generations of music right now, so there's no excuse not to know him. People knew him. People knew him in the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and even in the 2020s. He just dropped a record a year ago. He just under his new alias Love. He went from calling himself Brother Love to just Love, and he dropped a new album under that with well known artists. So no excuse not to have heard of him, especially when he's like in like movies and stuff. It would be saying they don't know who R. Kelly is. They know who R. Kelly is. They may not know his whole career, but they know who R. Kelly is. And like I said, by the way, R. Kelly faced the same situation where his house was raided by Department of Homeland Security on trafficking charges, and they ended up sticking because, like I said, the feds when they come after someone, they've already built a case against you. They don't they don't do it like the state does. The state will come. The state will apprehend you, and then they will build a case after they've nabbed you. The feds don't do that. The feds will let you freely operate and do what you do and end up hanging yourself because they're gonna let you do what you do, and they're gonna build build the case against you. And once they've had enough um, evidence to grab you by the rope, that's when they get you. When they finally investigate you, it's done. It's done. Like I said, that man got his graduation papers. He's not getting out of it. Juice says, I think when he was collabing with Mace and sampling Biggie, that's when Puff was at his peak. Sampling Biggie? No, Biggie was his artist. He wasn't collabing with Mace. Mace was his artist. Mace was signed under Bad Boy. Biggie was signed under Bad Boy. Biggie was the second person he signed. The first person he signed was Craig Mack. Craig Mack, he fucked over his whole career because Craig didn't want to do things the way Puffy wanted, and Puffy and Craig didn't get along. So Puffy just destroyed Craig Mack's career. Then he tried to bring him back in the 2000s, but that man was suffering some serious health problems. Some alleged that Craig Mack probably was suffering from AIDS, which is why he had all these pock marks on his face. So the next celeb might be Donald Trump. No, the difference is Donald Trump is not going to be in prison. That's the difference. But he's done videos with Donald Trump in them before. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is why I keep laughing when people keep trying to say that black people who support Donald Trump is a sellout when people in the hip hop community loved Donald Trump before he ran for office. Like I said, he's in music videos from the past. He's in a Mace music video. Like it was like two billionaires. It was like Donald Trump and it was like the that Hong Kong billionaire at the time. He was referencing like a bunch of rap albums. He was on the Fresh Prince. Like black people used to like Donald Trump long time ago before like people keep talking about the Central Park 5, forgetting that it was a lot of people who believed those kids were guilty even after they were exonerated. Some people still thought they did it. Trump wasn't the only one. But besides that, like I said, a lot of black people liked Donald Trump because they liked his bravado. and how he just like he he Trump was a genius at marketing and using his name as a brand to signify like wealth and decadence, and that responded to a lot of rappers who like to you know be kind of ostentatious with their wealth. Uh, so my bad, I forgot he owns Bad Boy. I don't know how you forgot that. You're obviously you're obviously a young person because there's no one from my era that would have forgot that Puffy owns Bad Boy. Like Bad Boy and Puffy are synonymous. Not to mention, people will also remember from my era that before he was part of Bad Boy, he was part of Uptown Records. Like people remembered him working with people like Heavy D and Tupac and Father MC and Mary J. Blige and Jodeci before he before he had Bad before he had Bad Boy Records. Like all that dope stuff coming out with Mary J. Blige and Jodeci back in the day. That was Puffy, Heavy D. Said they took down all the Bad Boy record buildings down. No, Bad Boy still exists, but maybe they took down some of the maybe they've closed some of the offices, but Bad Boy still exists. So then they make a movie for the Central Park Five. Yeah, it's on Netflix. Um, so yeah, you caught me. I'm a part of the younger generation. I was trying to be low key about it. And it's obvious. Like no one from my era would not know that. Like even the white people know who Puffy is because uh he's produced rock songs. He's worked with Sting. So like yeah, he did a song. What was it with Sting for that awful Godzilla movie from '97? He said, but I appreciate the wisdom you're dropping. Yeah, it's just like I said, I've been up on this for a long time just because I've I'm the MTV generation, so I've seen Puffy since his very first music video when he was a playing a like I said he was playing a background dancer for this group called Fine Young Cannibals, and the song was called "She Drives Me Crazy." You can look it up on the videos on YouTube if you want to see it. He looks very fruity in that music video, but at the time I just assumed this just because that was the nature of the video. Like they were all looking kind of fruity. So, but now we know no, he is like in 50 Cent's words a fruit pop. Like 50 Cent said, this man asked him to take him shopping. He's like, what you mean take me shopping? He said, nah, Playboy, I want to take you shopping. He's like, I don't need you to take me shopping, man. 50 Cent is funny as shit. And 50 Cent for this past year has been and that's another reason why I don't understand why you didn't know about Puffy because 50 Cent has been trolling this man for an entire year on Instagram. Like he trolls him badly. Like he's been trolling Puffy so I mean he's been trolling Puffy so badly on his Instagram for the past year. And like I said, he and Puffy had a falling out long time ago because I mean, I guess for a couple of reasons, but one of the times I knew they had a serious falling out was that Mace actually wanted to sign to G Unit Records under 50. This is when he came back into the music business. He did a third album with Puffy to, I think, probably get out to finish his contract with Puffy. He did another record with him, and he said, he only did it because he wanted to raise money to build his own church in Atlanta. Um, but then he wanted to do some more music under 50 Cent, and apparently Puffy wouldn't let him out his contract. So he ended up doing like a little underground record that I used to have on my computer. I'm mad that I deleted all that stuff. But he did an unreleased record on G Unit for 50 Cent, because he was like, 50 Cent was like G Unit and all that sort of stuff. It was funny, but 50 Cent was in one of Mace's songs talking shit about Puffy. He was like, yeah, he said, I know you didn't want to sign Mace to me. He said, but fuck it. He said, I got him anyway. And he's like, you don't want me to. He said, you don't want me to put out everything Mace was talking, saying about you. He said, we don't want to say all that, huh? It was funny, but they had a falling out ever since then. So he's like, I guess I'm not invited to the white party anymore. He was like, I don't care, F it. But yeah, 50 and Puffy has been beefing for a long time. Although Puffy said he wasn't beefing with 50, but 50 was definitely beefing with Puffy. Like if he has a problem with someone, he's gonna put it out there. He doesn't care, and he's been using this sort of as leverage because he wants to buy out some stuff that Puffy owns. He doesn't want to buy out Bad Boy Records, but he wanted to buy out some some other stuff I can't remember. So he's been trolling Puffy relentlessly on Instagram. All you gotta do is go to 50 Cent's Instagram and you'll see just constant stuff. Juice up says I think most guys have to do fruity things to get into the industry. Well, yeah, that was a top that was a discussion too. There's another good YouTube channel called Math Hoffa. Math Hoffa is a rapper out of Brooklyn. He used to be more of a like a backpack rapper, but now he's dropped like actual records, and he interviews like hip hop major people in the hip hop industry on his channel. It's sort of just like Nori's podcast. He kind of modeled it after Drink Champs, but it's different. Like they're not like, so instead of them like being in there all drinking and stuff like that, his format is like they're all in a barber shop, and it's like, you know how like dudes, you go to the barber shop and you discuss stuff that's only, that people only feel free talking about in the barber shop, right? It's sort of the similar sort of format. So people come into the barber shop and they talk about all sorts of stuff. He's like had so many people in there. Like I'll say, so if you like Drink Champs, you'll like the Math Hoffa YouTube channel, and you know he's had people in there talking about this stuff, and he literally had this discussion about, do every black man in the industry have to do something compromising, morally compromising, to make it in the industry? Like he's had several discussions with about that with people on his channel. Like for instance, the dude from the Chappelle Show, uh, Ashy Larry. I forgot that guy's real name, but the guy who used to play Ashy Larry, he's like, man, I would have had a bigger career by now. He said, but he said, I'm gonna tell you right now. He said, in the industry, he said, you either gotta wear a dress or suck a dick. He's like, man, I ain't wearing the dress and I ain't sucking no dick. He said, therefore, I ain't gonna get he said, I'm not gonna get as much work in the industry that I want. And there's been a ton of black men that said that in Hollywood, that they want you to do morally compromising stuff. Uh, Juice Up says 50 still stays on top till this day. The man is untouchable because he's a savvy businessman. He's taken his hustling and just made it legit. Like there's a lot of people on the street that if they could use the skills they on the street in the corporate world, they will be beasts. And we seen the few times when some guys have been able to transition from the street to the corporate world, how successful they've gotten. 50 Cent is just one person. Master P is another, and we can count. I'm sure we could count many other guys as well, but being able to take that you know that sort of hustle, that drive, that that savvy, that sort of business savvy, from peddling drugs to doing legit things, can make you very successful if you get the chance. Some people never get the chance because usually that hustling leads to them being incarcerated and they never get the chance to come up from under that. So so yeah, Hoffa I know. Yep, he said battle rapper. He said, and the guy, yeah, Donnell Rollins. Yo, he's funny as hell. He's funny. I just saw him on this comedy channel on YouTube where he was a the dude can speak Korean. I didn't even know that. Like it was some Korean people in the audience. He started talking like fluent Korean to some people in the audience. So he's a talented comedian. Yeah, aka Ashy Larry. But yeah, Donnell Rollins. Yeah, he kept saying on the Math Hoffa show, he said, "Man, you gotta have a." He said, "You gotta wear a dress and suck a dick." I want to say that too many times. I don't want to get demonetized, but yeah, I'm gonna go, fam. All right, but like I said, if you don't look at the documentaries on Tubi or on Hulu, then check out the Legal Eagle thing to know about the whole investigation, at least as it was 5 months ago. I'm pretty sure things have changed now that they've actually had a grand jury indictment. But I bet you this, I bet you Legal Eagle is going to do a follow up video on the grand jury indictment. And you'll see for yourself like why this guy is probably the best person to watch on YouTube when it comes to like having a legal analysis of like something going on in pop culture, because like I said, you get a lot of these people on YouTube that are actual lawyers, but they don't put out good information. And like I said, I'm not going to mention their names because I'm not going to bash them because I don't want them to bash me. So, um, but I'll say but like I said, I'll put the word out for Legal Eagle though. But on that, and like I said, and then if people want to check out Math Hoffa, he has a great podcast, hip hop podcast. I haven't really watched Drink Champs, but I've seen clips of it. It's okay. And then of course, Cameron and Mace have their own podcast. But the funny thing is, it's a sports. They actually have a sports podcast, but they do talk about non-sports related stuff from time to time as well on this show. But it's great that Cameron and Mace have a podcast together. Because for people who don't know, like younger people like yourself, they were beefing for like a long time, for at least a decade. They've been beefing for over a decade. So to see them to get back together, because they used to be like really close friends when they first came into the industry, and they fell apart at one point because um basically over some money. Like when Mace appeared in Cameron's horse and carriage video and a song, he never got paid for it, and that created some bitter feelings and led down a road where they became bitter, bitter enemies for almost a decade. And it was fueled by people on both sides, especially on the Dipset side, like people like um um not Jules Santana, but his other homeboy, that 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 moron. But yeah, but they're friends again. They got a great sports broadcast. Yeah, Jim Jones. But so I don't know if Mason and Jim Jones are cool now, because I don't think Jim Jones ever liked them. But according to my homie that used to live in Harlem, he said they used to all play basketball together. So back in the day, because that's literally what happened. Like Mace, like, because I read Mace's autobiography back in the day. Mace went on to college uh, somewhere in upstate New York, and he only lasted about a year before he dropped out or something like that. Cameron went to college in Texas, and I don't think he fent. I think he dropped out eventually too. But they both went to college on basketball scholarships. So I think I'm not sure if Jim Jones plays ball too, but I guess he does as well. But I don't know if he was good enough that he got a basketball scholarship the way that Mason Cameron did. But they had their own group long time ago too. When they first came out, it was Mace under called himself Mace Murder, Killer Cam, Mace Murder, and Big L. Like they were a group back in the day. Big L's another one of those really big rappers that died prematurely in the '90s too. But some people don't know Big L, but Big L was up there with the likes of Biggie, stuff like that, as far as like rap skills. Like he was considered one of those really diamond level rappers. But anyway, all right, I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna go. But guys, like I said, everything I've been saying about Puffy is coming into fruition. For all the people saying just because his houses got raided didn't mean shit, and I was telling people just wait. Just because they didn't get him now doesn't mean they're not gonna get him later. I was like, I said the raid was to get the evidence they needed, and they would once they did. I said there's going to be an indictment, and I was right. The indictment came. So when I'm right, I'm right, and when I'm wrong, I usually end up being right later. So all right, guys, I'm out. Peace out, Juice Dope. Everyone else, Mullet Fern. Um, thanks, my man. And everyone else, I'll see you later. If you guys see this on a replay, please give me a like and a subscribe. Um, can share the video to other people. If people have top suggestions of topics for me to cover, you can leave me those suggestions in the comment section. And if you want to support me, there are memberships available starting at $2.99, or you can drop me a super thanks, and or if you want me to get it like immediately instead of waiting for YouTube to dish out my check, you can hit me up on my Cash App or buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com. All those links are in the description, guys. But thank you. I'm going to bed. Talk to you later.